Hello everyone, this is Dara again, and I'm talking to you from computational class notes, and this is another exciting training class notes and these fantastic videos I keep making for teaching the beginners classes for using Blender 4.5.3. The focus and emphasis is on detailed proper learning for professional engagements at a later date, hopefully very soon for all our trainees. No matter how much I try to make these videos shorter, I just go on talking, so I try to rush it a little bit. Okay, this video is about the structure of what you see on the screen. Apropos of some of the example projects that we provide for the beginners classes. So in this particular one, I'm going to be focused on the Donut 1 project. And in that Donut 1 project, when you open it, pretty much this is what you see on the screen. Our main focus is, well, this thing in the middle, this area when the rendering takes place. And if you want to know what's the name of that area, sorry, I keep clearing my throat. You go over here. What is that area? Let me click here. What is that area? You go there. That's an area for editor type called 3D viewport. Instead of going on the internet looking at other people's YouTube channels or thumb through PDFs from 5 years ago, just basically, when you get the project from CCN Studios, basically go over here, put your mouse on the left top corner of any region in the UI, and then it would tell you what it is, what editor it is. Why is it called editor? Because you can change, delete, and add new things like a text editor. You can change the text, you can add new text, or you can delete text that already was there. That's the meaning of an editor, okay? And you have the same thing called gene editors. They even do it with genes now. That's the terminology for editor. In this particular case, this is a 3D viewport type of an editor. And so if you ask it what it does, if you go to the third line, it says, manipulate objects in a 3D environment. Oh, okay, that was not obvious to me. Okay, I got that right. Now, before we go forward, sorry, I'm going to put this on this renderer over here, viewport shading, which is solid before I had it on viewport shading rendered. Okay, and if you want, you can go to viewport shading wireframe. Don't be shy, press on it. It only draws the lines for polygons, but I'm not going to go there. That's another class. Go to here, viewport shading, solid. Always start there. And now you know where this editor is, 3D viewport, and that's this region here. It's pretty much a region with boundary you can see. Okay? The next region we want to focus on today, that's the UI region, not the geometric region, 2D region on this window. That's this one. You see a little bit of highlight comes out when you go from region to region. There are 3 regions we're interested in this video. The first one is this, 3D viewport. Second one is, look, you go over here, leftmost top of the rectangular region, and that is called outliner editor type. What does an outliner do? Overview of scene graph on all available data blocks. Well, if you're a computer science major, these are or a little bit of a discrete math, you know what that means. But basically, you toss your objects there and their data and materials and all that. Why they call it scene graph, data blocks, and all that we describe to you as we progress through this training. The third region on the screen, I go there, you can see it gets highlighted. This guy over here. Don't go look at what this is. Just go over here, left-hand top corner. is the editor for properties. Properties of what? The objects that are in Outliner. And these objects on the Outliner are displayed in 3D viewport. So data here, properties and data, you form objects from it in the Outliner, and then you display it on 3D viewport. Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, so let's jump into this Outliner. So when you speak in the classes with us, with the instructors, when you read the documents, when we give you homework, we're gonna use these names. We're not gonna say to you, oh, right-hand side topmost box, pane, window. We're gonna tell you go to the Outliner editor. If you don't know where that is, you just go around the screen to the leftmost corners of any of the regions for UI. How do you know these regions are there? Because there are different screen configurations. Just move your mouse around and you can see a slight highlight change on the borders of on the regions, so obviously there for you. Now, in here you see a very familiar icon, which is a filing cabinet, filing cabinet, I believe, or a box or a drawer or whatever you want to call it. That is a collection. Collection in the case of the Blender UI and Blender data structures is where you collect objects. Okay, that was obvious. Like you have a drawer, you put all your forks and knives and things like that there. You have a filing cabinet, you put your files, you put your like copies of your checks and credit reports and homeworks and things like that. In this scene collection, you have one collection only. There is no other collection. It's just one collection. You can add more collections, and that's by going over here. You can add a new collection. There are many projects that do that. Those are larger projects. But right now, we are at the baby step 1. Okay. So for that reason, we're just going to do one scene collection. Actually, one collection in this case. And then you can see some peculiar things on its right-hand side, and that, well, looks like less than sign, or greater sign. That's on your keyboard, right by shift, after to the left of question mark. That's what it looks like, but we don't care about that. We're gonna come over here. We see an upside down triangle, also known as delta, something like that. And then we have a light, looks like a light bulb. And then we have the old school camera, motion picture camera. And then we have these 3 icons, which I'll describe to you later on what they are. So before we do anything, this is a collection, it's a filing cabinet where you put your objects and materials, and there is stuff there. So that's a high level of that scene data graph that they were referring to. Now, what are these upside down triangles? These are your objects. Okay, how many objects do you have there? If you can see it on the screen, there's 344 of these. So there are 344 more of these upside down triangles which describe objects are in your scene, only 1 light and 2 cameras. Okay, now when you press on the collections, okay, you then come down here and see something gets lightened up, and that's the object. Okay, you come over here. This is telling you that under the collections, the object is selected. This object is called, under the collections, it's an object selected. And this object, I guess, is called bagel over here. Okay, I lost that. Here, sorry about that. I was clicking on the wrong thing. The object was bagel that was already selected. My apologies. Okay, so one more time, we go to the top collection, all right, and we come here, and there's a bagel, Go to here, we find the upside down triangle, which is the object. And then we see the same lineup. So before we go here, let's go to here. That's the one camera. That's the second camera. Then you have an upside down green triangle. And then you have upside down orange triangle. And so you have one object. And then I tell you what the green is. And then you have one light. Okay, so if you went back over here, one light, two cameras, and 344 of these objects. So we go here. One object is over here, and one object is over here. One is called bagel, one is called cube, which is the original cube in the startup scene when you open your Blender. We don't delete it usually, so the students have a reference. If you go to this cube that we have disabled by shutting down the eye, that means we just don't look at it. There is an upside down green triangle that is also inactivated, and we describe to you what that is shortly. Now, since there are two objects in this scene, when we started there was 344 objects. 344 minus bagel plus cube 2, that's 342 objects are left for bagel. Why so many objects? Because yours truly has made a lot of separate meshes corresponding to the sprinkles here. Let me just make this a little bit larger for you to see. Those colorful things, the icings or sprinkles. Okay, enough of talk about that. So then we come here and we press on the bagel. It says to us that it over here, it has one upside down green triangle, which I tell you shortly what that is, and 342 of these objects, which are upside down orange triangles. Then we go down there, there's only one of these. The rest are underneath the icing objects. Icing are sprinkles over here. Okay, so that's correct. There's only one at the level for the bagel, the first level. And there's 342 objects with 242 of these green triangles. Okay, so what is this green triangle? If you go there, you click on it. But before we go there, we do any of these things. We start from collection again. You click on the collection. You go to this editor here, which was a properties editor. Look down and say what it says. This collection maps into a picture similar to itself, called also collection. So the collection over here maps to collection over here. Over here is an abstract little thing with the name collection. Down here is a data object, full of stuff, custom properties, and add new, and you can edit it, that's why it's an editor, and a whole bunch of stuff here, which we are not going to discuss in these classes for now. Then we go down here, we click on the bagel. Now what is bagel? Bagel is an object. That's the upside down orange triangle. And it has properties. What are its properties? It has name. Okay, here it is. Name, very important. It has transform, where it is located, XYZ locations, how much is rotated around different axes, and it's a scale, and a bunch of other information, relations, collections, instancing, and motion path, and so on, which will take us quite a few courses to explain. Now you go down here, click on this little white sort of a greater sign, opens up, and under bagel, now you have all these objects, okay? All right, so the most important thing is that here, the bagel itself has this upside down green triangle. And what is that? When you click on it, down here, you get the data, which is a torus. Torus is this shape. Over here. Is this shape. It's called torus or donut. It's a cylinder conjoined at its ends and with a hole in the middle. Okay. And this is a data object or data. Data. Object data properties. What are those? What is in that math equations and all kinds of other information, colors and UV maps for texturing and texture space and remesh data and geometry data and animation and a whole bunch of other stuff. And then you see this funky reddish looking disk of some kind. What in the world is that? You click on it and you go down here. Okay, you go over here, you go down here, and that's called dough. That's called dough. And dough is a material. And this material have lots of properties. And in this case, it's this color that is beige. But where is the beige color? I don't see any beige color. Well, be patient. Here it is. That's the dough for the donut. I know where the donut, the D-O-N and them come from. Donut. You have dough, okay, and it's beige color. Now that we are over the linguistics of donut, okay, and then we're not going to do anything to the donut, but you just get a hang of this. So green upside down triangle is data. Funky looking red disk, the most unintuitive icon these guys could select is material. That's fine. Okay, then we have, how many of these icing or sprinkles we have? Scroll down with your mouse. In 342, remember we started for 344. Two of these upside down origin triangles or objects were on the top level, and then we said, where is the other 342? And here they are. They are at the level of bagel. You have 342 icings. That means 342 sprinkles of different colors, orientations, so on. All right. So now that you're familiar, that was the purpose of this video. We just want to familiarize you with the very concept of these editors and the regions on the UI. One more time, I take it from the top. Okay. Over here, we select the bagel. Okay, so just to conclude this. So you open the Blender and you warp, the first scene goes away, and then you have this when you open this project for your Classnote. And you go over there and you say, what in the world is on the screen here? The ones that at least we are using. And you are told that if you just move your mouse around, a whole bunch of highlights on the edges of these square regions happen. Those are UI regions. All you have to do is diagonally in every region go to the top left. And you know what that is. That's a 3D viewport. That's where you draw your 3D stuff. Check. Then you come down here. What is in this here? I have no idea what is this guy. What is he? Diagonally move to the left top side of the window. Read the 2D region, sorry. That's called outliner. Why is it called an editor? It's an editor because you add objects, delete objects, manipulate objects like a text editor. The third item of our concern is this region on the screen that is highlights changes. And diagonally move your mouse to the top left, and it's properties editor. So this is where whatever these things are, for example, your bagel, all its properties are here. It's an object. So bagel is an object, and its properties are here. Then you open up the bagel, you go here. What is this green thing? It has one of these green things, upside down green triangles. It's data. Just stuff, equations for the torus, tangent, things that they compute, pieces of code attached to it, transforms or whatever related materials. And then you find this absolutely unintuitive Blender material disk. And that's where it is. There is over here, and the name. And the material and its color over here, as we have done this before. And I think I'm done with this video. It's way too long. My apologies to everyone again, and thank you for your attention.